And it's my face. Welcome to the first of many King and Giallo talking heads. I decided to introduce this new type of format so I could keep giving you content while I'm taking a hiatus from mostly writing and editing my full reviewed Jolly Tally videos, because I do have other endeavors on YouTube that I'm trying to do, and I tried to do this last year, and I just was at a point where I got really hungry for the King and Giallo, and I just couldn't stop. So, hopefully you enjoy this. I avoid doing things, or at least I avoided doing things like this for the longest time, because just the way that my brain works, if I see someone on YouTube talking about movies or something and I don't know who they are already, I generally don't click on it. That's why I do like video reviews with clips of the movies I'm talking about, because there's a certain threshold, a certain level of like effort that's going into it. And if I'm watching a review about something, I really kind of want to see the movie that is being talked about. I don't really just want to see a person's face. But the Jolly Tally videos do take me at least a week to do, sometimes shorter, but sometimes I go over. But the point is, I didn't want to just take a month or 2 months off, so I wanted to be able to make videos that I could throw together a little easier and still give you content. And so for this first video, I'm going to do, what am I going to do? And I got the black gloves on, because you can't be on YouTube and talk about Giallo films if you don't have black gloves. Today I'm going to talk about my favorite Nora Orlandi Giallo film tracks. Now, Nora Orlandi did a lot of music in spaghetti westerns and Euro spy thrillers, other genre films, but I'm only going to be talking about the Giallo films. Now, I will caveat this by saying that there's only, I think, 3 movies that these tracks are going to be coming from. I will preface that. Like, she really mainly only fully scored a handful of Giallo films, and then she lent her voice in a few other soundtracks, like Death Walks in High Heels. Her voice is in the main theme, and a few other movies similarly like that. But the only movies that I will be focusing on for this video are The Sweet Body of Deborah, Double Face, and The Strange Vice of Mrs. Ward. And I will also warn you that most of the top tracks are going to come from The Strange Vice of Mrs. Ward, because that is one of my favorite Giallo film soundtracks. But let's get right into it. Again, I will preface this by saying that this is just my opinion. This isn't what these are the best songs. I invite you to let me know your thoughts, what songs you think are your favorites of Nora Orlandi's in Giallo film tracks. I mean, you can mention spaghetti westerns too if you want to talk about Johnny Yuma or any of the other films that she scored. But yeah, I generally like the comments to be very focused on Nora Orlandi. Anyways, so these are just mine. These are just my picks, and I will say that The Strange Vice of Mrs. Ward, the tracks are much easier for me when I go through them. So Nora Orlandi's music is not all on Spotify. Some of the tracks you'd have to find on YouTube. The Sweet Body of Deborah, the album is fully there. They just recently put on The Strange Vice of Mrs. Ward, and I don't know if that was at the end of 2024, but I noticed it like right after she passed, which I think that is just a coincidence, because I think it must have come on at the very end of 2024. But yeah, it was very hard for me to find her music like on Instagram. Like when you look up tracks, I couldn't find her songs for The Strange Vice of Mrs. Ward on Spotify until recently. But for some reason, the tracks are only listed as sequence 1, sequence 2, all the way down to sequence 31. I don't know why, because I know these tracks do have names, but I'm just going to be referring to them as such. And really, I kind of want to do like a top 5 or top 10, but I will do a top 15, because there's a lot of tracks in there that I want to mention. I didn't want this to just be the Strange Vice of Mrs. Ward soundtrack. So Anyways, with that, let's jump right into the King and Giallo's top 15 Nora Orlandi Giallo film tracks. Number 15 is this instrumental track from Double Face called Soho. This song is really, really grooving. And I will say that Nora Orlandi's tracks kind of fit into this range of either being like very haunting. That's like the main word that I can think of when describing her music. Very haunting, very kind of creepy, a little ethereal. Or they, on the other side of the spectrum, is just full on like that 60s kind of like rock organ, jazzy, like let's go. And generally speaking, those are not my favorite types of tracks in Giallo. I mean, I like them. You know, don't get me wrong, but I'm a sucker for creepy stuff. And all of my favorite tracks in Giallo in general are more of the creepy stuff. But Soho is a really good grooving one. Like, you could throw this on at a party, I think, even today. And even though the song is over 50 years old, I think it could flow and people wouldn't get too upset like, what the hell is this? But yeah. Also, I'm not sure if I'm going to be pronouncing these correctly, but I'm not going to try to overdo it, but I will provide the titles. I mean, if you want to correct me, you're free to, but I'm providing the track title, so I don't think it's the end of the world. Number 14 is from the Sweet Body of Deborah, and it's called either E-Robot or iRobot, and I don't think it's iRobot, but that's how it's spelled. Something I will say here before I go forward with the Sweet Body of Deborah tracks is the Sweet Body of Deborah, the music is very good, like study music, very good kind of working music. Like, you could throw it on and it has just a good energy to it without being drawing too much focus to itself. There's a handful of songs that are a little kind of like, listen to me, look at me, but most of them are just really good, just a good vibe. I don't like saying that, like, oh god, good vibes, but it's true. It's true. So, E-Robot is number 14. Number 13 is also from the Sweet Body of Deborah, and this is Marcel Deborah 3. There are 3 renditions, I believe, of this song in the soundtrack. There's 1, 2, 3. There might be 4, but this was, and they're all very unique. They all are kind of the same melody, but different instruments and just different ways of playing them. I think that's correct. And this one was just, I don't know, I just enjoyed this one the most. And Nora Orlandi's voice is in it. I'm not sure who the male voice is, but this one, again, just kind of has a good, like, I heard this and I had to go and stop and go, oh, let me bookmark that one. I like that. Moving on. Number 12. Okay. I will admit that I've seen the Sweet Body of Deborah a few times. I saw it recently. I saw it as recently as last year. And for some reason, this is the scene that I always remember, is the scene that this song plays. And the song is called La Bandita. And it plays when Marcel and Deborah are playing Twister. They're playing some like 1960s classic Twister. And the song plays and they're just dancing. And then it's like, you know, like right hand red, left hand green. And you really don't need this this scene, at least the full duration of it in the movie, but I enjoy it so much. That is something that is very indicative of Giallo films. In fact, I just watched A Rather Complicated Girl recently, and there's a handful of scenes in that movie that you're like, okay, you don't really need that, but either it adds something stylistically, or it maybe just adds a little bit with the characters. Yeah, there's always a little bit something to it. It's not just there for no reason. But this Twister scene in The Sweet Body of Deborah with the song La Bandita, for some reason, that's the first thing I think of if you mention The Sweet Body of Deborah. It's not any of the creepy scenes with like the radio playing in the other room. It's not the crazy deception and reveal at the end. It's them playing Twister. Number 11 is Ossessione 2. This is, again, a track that there's like 3 or 4 versions of, and for whatever reason, this is just my favorite, and this is where we kind of start transitioning away from the more 60s pop jazz type tracks and more into the kind of a little spookier tracks. We're starting getting into these, it's trying to set the tone, which is something that Nora Orlandi did very well in heightening a lot of these Giallo films with her music. Was just, okay, like, let's make it creepy. And what's great is Sweet Body of Deborah, it does have moments that call for this, but I feel like the musical choices that Nora makes definitely heighten it, definitely focus more on the creepy. And if this was done by someone else, or if there was no music, those scenes would kind of fall flat. And so there's these few scenes in the movie that are intended to be creepy. And the music does a perfect job of highlighting those few moments in the movie where we're supposed to be creeped out. Number 10 is Ginevra 5. And again, I believe this is the last rendition of this track. There might be 6, but I'm pretty sure this is the very final one. And this is just a good, again, going in there, good creepy vibe. Like this one a little bit more than the last. And I will say also, I will admit that the vast majority of these tracks, I don't recall exactly when they were used in the movie. But going back, re-listening to the soundtrack, these were songs that definitely caught my ear. Like, ooh, that's a good one. Because this is true for a lot of soundtracks, especially when there's a, what do you call it in music? There's a theme, or I forget what it's called, but it's like, this is the main title, or this is the main song, and then a lot of the other songs are just renditions of it, maybe changing the instruments, maybe changing the key, or changing up in some way. And so The Sweet Body of Deborah has a lot of songs like that. There's, I think, like 20, 30 plus songs, and a lot of them are renditions of this main theme that you're hearing. And so as the movie progresses, it starts twisting a little bit. It starts getting a little darker as we're getting closer to the reveal. Number 9 is from Double Face, and it's Italian is the title, so it's A Doppia Faccia. I want to say this is the main theme of the movie, and there is a instrument. This is the instrumental version. There is one with vocals, but I do prefer this instrumental one. I will say that the vast majority, now you can only find a few tracks, like 9 tracks from this movie on YouTube, and I'm not sure if that is the full soundtrack or if that's all they have, but it's about 25 or so minutes of music. And now that I think about it, I don't recall there being a lot of music in Double Face. I think there are a good amount of scenes that are just more silent and pondering and kind of following Klaus Kinski's character as he's doing his own investigation. So when the music does come in, it definitely is making a statement. It is what it's doing. So that theme, the instrumental of it, really good, and it really sets the tone for that movie. And I really do enjoy Double Face. I think it is one of the better 60s Giallo films. It's got some moments in there that are a little like, but that's just kind of the 60s movies in general. And I want to say it's Ricardo Frida. If it is him, his filmography was kind of hit and miss, especially towards the end. He then just kind of started shitting the bed a little bit. But Double Face is certainly a solid movie. Number 8 is also a song from Double Face, and it's called Voices. And I didn't realize this until I was going through and re-listening to it, but it's an early version of my favorite Nora Orlandi song. I mean, spoilers, but I was like listening closely, like that's the melody of Dies Irae, which again, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, but that's what I'm gonna go for. But it's the vocalization. It's the same. And so that's really interesting that it's actually in a different movie that preceded that one by a year or two. Yeah, it's cool because a lot of my top tracks, again, spoiler, are different renditions of that song. And so it's really interesting to me to hear that in a different movie that she did before that. Number 7 is Double Face from Double Face. Again, this just does a great job of conveying the unsettling tone, the unsettling aspects of this movie, especially with, I don't know how else to say this without reiterating and, just saying the same thing over again, but Klaus Kinski's investigation and the twists and turns it takes where he's trying to get to the bottom of, is my wife really dead? Or is she faking her death, or something else going on here? So it definitely does a good job of getting into that frame of mind that Klaus Kinski's character is in, and his performance really sells that. So together, the performance with the music, and then all the other visual aspects, like just the directing, editing, cinematography, lighting, really bring that package together. I think it's one of the, obviously I can't just think this out of nowhere, like of all the other dozens and hundreds of Giallo films, but I do remember that this movie did a great job of conveying the character's mental state. And thank you, Nora Orlandi, for doing that. Okay, moving forward, it is All the Strange Vice of Mrs. Ward. Number 6 is Sequence 31. This is the final track in the movie. So this is where everything gets resolved. Edwidge Fenwick's character is riding off in the backseat of a car, she's riding off in a car with I think like the doctor who saved her life, and the movie is really much like Romance. Yeah, you see it? Yeah, whatever, the movie's over. And this is the track that plays as they drive off, the credits roll, and it's just a good way to end that movie. A good song for a great song for a great ending of a great movie. Number 5 are 2 tracks that are very similar, but they just have slightly different orchestration or just different instruments, and they are sequence 14 and sequence 19. Slightly different versions. These are the tracks that will play when someone is stalking about outside following our Mrs. Ward. And again, this is the thing that Nora Orlandi did very well, and it's very unfortunate that we only got a small handful of Giallo film soundtracks from her, mostly in the late 60s and 1971, mostly. And, well, this is 1971. But yeah, these tracks, I mean, are what I would call them the stalking songs, the stalking tracks, when she's being stalked. I don't have anything else to say for that. Moving on. Number 4 is sequence 29. And this is the track that plays during the climax. You can see how sound is so important in visual storytelling in film, because it is a moment, and this music really helps to put that that chill down your spine, that the goosebumps, the oh crap, yeah. So again, thank you, Nora. Okay, now heads up, the top 3 are all the different renditions of the same song, and I'm sorry if that's kind of cheap, but to me, they are played so differently that I feel like they deserve their own standings. And so number 3 is sequence 25. And it's this track that plays while Edwidge Fenwick's character is, she's on holiday with George Hilton, and she starts feeling like her ex-lover, Ivan Rasimov, has somehow found her, and she starts running through the town, through the I don't remember where they go, but it's this beautiful beachside town, and she's just running, she's kind of going crazy. All the locals are looking at her like, what the hell's her problem? The track that all of these are clones of always plays when she's thinking of her ex-lover and the kind of abusive sadomasochistic relationship that they had, where he would kind of hurt her and she was clearly into it, but still along with that and the excitement of that is the trauma of what a piece of shit this guy was. And the idea that she was so excited by what they did in the bedroom kind of makes it hard for her to get over him. And so her running away, thinking that he's there, he's still alive. And at this point also, earlier in the movie, they'd found his dead body. So she's like, oh my God, is he dead? Is it a ghost of him? Am I going crazy? And this version of the song it brings back that theme of of just the memories, but also the brings in this then anticipation, this thrill, this it works so well with what she's doing, where she's running and she's like, oh my god, I gotta get out of here. Great version. Moving on. Number 2 is sequence 3. And this is the first time that we hear this theme play, and it's about 5 minutes into the movie when she's in the taxi and she has her first flashback memory of her ex-boyfriend, where the iconic scene where they're arguing in the car, she gets out and runs out into the rain and trips, and he follows her and he just starts smacking her, and then it goes into like slow motion as she's getting slapped, and then he rips her clothes off and just starts ravaging her, and she's smitten. It's so weird because I mean, this is a real thing. People get really into this kind of R-play stuff, and it's crazy that, I mean, and I'm pretty sure this was not the first movie to do this. The 60s were pretty wild, and I'm pretty sure even before that we may have gotten a little taste of that in like the 50s. Don't quote me on that, but this was a very, at least kind of graphic version of it. Just like, no, yeah, that's it. She is into this, even though she's kind of like, doesn't want to, you know, she probably wants to get away from him right now because he is an asshole, but I love it so much. And this version of the song I separate from the other ones, which I rank as number 1, because this one doesn't have the haunting vocals. This one has like the more creepy one, the one that's like, yeah, and it's so good the first time you see it. And but yes, my favorite is number 1, R. So this is Dies Irae, but also sequence 8 and sequence 6. So these are all the same song, they just have different durations. One of them is about 2.5 minutes, Dies Irae, and this was the version that was also used in Kill Bill Volume 2. Sequence 6, I want to say, is the version that comes up in the second flashback, where after she's run into her ex-boyfriend at the party, and he approaches her in the street after she walks out, and then her husband comes in to, like, you know, step in, like, back off, dude. And he hits the dude, hits Ivan Rasimov. Ivan Rasimov just laughs and walks away. And the husband is basically kind of like, you're okay, you're safe, you're with me. And then that night in bed, she has this second flashback, this dream of her lying on the bed and him just smashing a bottle over her, and all the bits of broken glass land on her, and he takes a shard from the neck of the bottle and cuts her right here. And again, she swoons, and then they start making love as she's like bleeding a little bit. Really crazy stuff. And then, so that is sequence 6. Sequence 8 is the same song, but about like 35 seconds. It's very quick. It skips the whole big intro with the organs. It skips kind of the instrumental play out, but it is the same vocal part with Nora Orlandi. And again, I don't know if that's a masculine voice or if that's her pitching it down, but so beautiful. And like, I really like sequence 3, the one before it, but that kind of whining, like, is really good, creepy. But the actual vocalization in these three tracks that I have as number one is beautiful, is hauntingly beautiful. Whereas the other one, I wouldn't necessarily go so far as to say that's beautiful. But yeah, these three tracks, again, there's not a big difference between them. It's just the difference in duration and how much of the play in and play out is featured. But this I do rank for myself as the best Nora Orlandi track for Giallo films. Thank you for watching this video, and once again, I invite you to leave your thoughts in the comments section. Let me know what your favorite tracks are, or what just your favorite Nora Orlandi soundtracks are in general. You can change it up. You don't have to talk about the Giallo film soundtracks. Like I said, there's only a handful that she did, which is a real shame. It kind of is like when I talk about Luigi Bazzoni and how he only made a few Giallo films. I really wish Nora Orlandi did more, but 1971 seems to be the last year that she was really scoring. But you know what? We got like Bazzoni, we got some great stuff out of the brief time that she was working in the genre. Thank you for watching, and thank you, Nora Orlandi, for your contributions to cinema, to Giallo, to music, and we miss you. Thank you for watching.
Chi è lei?
Dio.